Japan looks at the same daily frustrations as everyone and somehow finds solutions nobody else thought to try. An egg timer that changes color as it cooks so you never have to guess whether it's soft, medium, or hard-boiled again. Bento box vending machines that dispense a freshly prepared meal at any hour from a machine on the street. And entire underground city networks beneath the streets where you can shop, eat, and commute, regardless of what the weather is doing above you. Japan doesn't just solve everyday problems, it solves them so completely that you only realize how much of a problem they were the moment you leave and have to go back to dealing with them the old way. Today, we're counting down 15 Japanese ideas that instantly solve everyday problems. Watch until the end because number 15, a cute robot that blows cool air onto your food at the perfect temperature, might be one of the coolest solutions on this list. Number 1. Daiso Egg Timer. The Daiso Egg Timer is a small silicone disc you place in the water alongside your eggs while they boil, and it changes color progressively from the outside in as the temperature of the water increases, showing you in real time exactly how cooked your eggs are without timers, guesswork, or cutting one open to check. The outer ring changes first, then the middle, then the center. Soft boiled, medium, hard. You pull the eggs when the color matches what you want, and every egg comes out exactly right. It works because it sits in the same water as the eggs and responds to the same heat. There's no calibration required, no app, no timer to set and forget. The disc tells you what you need to know by looking at it. Japan made a product that solves one of the most consistently misjudged cooking tasks in any kitchen using a color change and a piece of silicone that costs almost nothing. Number 2. Bento box vending machines. Japan operates bento box vending machines stocked with freshly prepared meal boxes that are restocked multiple times daily, providing a full hot or cold meal from a machine at any hour without a restaurant being open or a convenience store being nearby. The machines are positioned at train stations, office buildings, hospitals, and roadside locations where a proper meal is needed, but no food service is available at that hour. The bento boxes inside reflect the same quality standard as convenience store prepared food, with rice, protein, and sides assembled fresh and delivered to the machine on a regular rotation throughout the day. Japan's vending machine infrastructure operates on the principle that whatever a person needs should be available wherever they are. A full meal is no exception. The machine doesn't replace the restaurant. It fills the hours between them and the locations beyond them, making a proper meal available in every gap the conventional food service network leaves open. Number 3. Bearpaw Cafe. Japan's Bearpaw Cafe serves drinks through a small window in a wall, where the only visible part of the server is a pair of hands wearing bear paw gloves, turning a simple beverage transaction into an interaction charming enough that people queue specifically for the experience of receiving a drink from a pair of bear paws. You approach the window, place your order, and a pair of fluffy bear paw hands appear, prepares your drink, and passes it through. That's the entire transaction. What makes it more than just a novelty is the people behind the paws. The cafe is run by a mental health academy and staffed entirely by people recovering from conditions like depression, anxiety, and trauma, for whom a traditional customer-facing job would be overwhelming. The Bearpaw removes the face-to-face element entirely, giving them a way to work, rebuild confidence, and reintegrate into society at their own pace. It's the simplest possible version of a themed experience, and it works completely because Japan committed to it without reservation. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even cooler. Number 4. Chopstick Napkin Roll for Beginners. Japan developed a beginner chopstick technique using a rolled napkin or paper band that wraps around the top end of both chopsticks and holds them at the correct spacing, giving the user a pivot point that makes the opening and closing motion intuitive, rather than requiring the finger positioning that takes practice to develop naturally. You roll a small piece of paper or napkin tightly, wrap it around the upper end of the chopsticks, and secure it with the paper band from the chopstick sleeve. The roll acts as a hinge. You squeeze the lower chopstick against the upper one, and the pivot does the work that your fingers would otherwise need to learn to do independently. The technique is taught to children learning to use chopsticks and shown to foreign visitors who want to eat properly without the frustration of dropping food throughout the meal. Japan found a way to make its primary eating utensil accessible to anyone within the first few minutes of trying. Number 5. Underground city networks beneath the streets. Japan's underground pedestrian networks connect train stations, department stores, office buildings, hotels, and retail districts through climate-controlled corridors that allow entire cross-city journeys to be completed without stepping outside. The networks aren't just tunnels, they contain their own shops, restaurants, cafes, and public spaces built below the surface of the city above. You enter a station in one district and emerge in a completely different neighborhood without having been exposed to outdoor conditions at any point. Summer heat, winter rain, rush hour pavement traffic, None of it applies once you take the stairs down. In cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya, these networks extend for kilometers in every direction. A commuter can complete their entire morning journey from train to office without once feeling the weather outside. Japan built a second city beneath the first one and filled it with everything the surface city has. Rain, heat, and traffic become completely irrelevant the moment you go below it. Number 6. Bento box dividers. Japanese bento box dividers are small silicone or plastic inserts placed inside a lunchbox to separate different components of a meal, keeping wet ingredients from softening dry ones, preventing flavors from transferring between items, and maintaining the presentation of the meal from the moment it's packed until the moment it's eaten. They come in multiple sizes, shapes, and depths to fit any bento box configuration and any combination of foods. A piece of salmon doesn't leak into the rice. The pickled vegetables don't transfer their flavor to the fruit. Everything stays exactly as it was packed. The divider is a solution to a problem so specific and so consistently encountered by anyone who packs a lunch that its absence from most Western lunchbox design is genuinely surprising once you've used one. Japan treats the packed lunch as a composition worth protecting and produces the accessories that keep it intact. The bento divider is the simplest of them and the one that makes the most immediate difference. Number 7. Magnetic erasers. Japanese magnetic erasers contain a small magnet in the base that attracts the rubber shavings produced during erasing, gathering them into a neat pile directly beneath the eraser rather than scattering them across the page, the desk, and onto the floor. You erase normally. When you lift the eraser, the shavings are clustered together underneath it, rather than distributed across the work surface. You collect them in a single motion and dispose of them without hunting across the page for pieces that have rolled to the edge of the desk. Eraser debris is one of those small, consistent frustrations that most people have simply accepted as part of using a pencil. It scatters, it gets onto work, it falls on the floor, and collecting it requires either a brush or repeated passes of a hand that often makes things worse. Japan put a magnet in an eraser and made the debris collect itself. The eraser costs the same as a standard one and works the same way in every respect, except that the mess doesn't happen. Number 8. Convenience store ID photo machines. Japanese convenience store photo booths produce professional quality ID photographs to the exact specifications required for passports, driving licenses, resident cards, and other official documents in under 2 minutes from a machine available around the clock without an appointment or a photographer. You select the document type from the touchscreen. The machine displays the correct dimensions and background color required. You sit in front of the camera, adjust your position using the live preview, take the shot, and collect printed photographs from the slot within 90 seconds. The output meets official government standards for the documents they're used on. The machine knows the specifications and produces photographs that comply with them, rather than requiring you to research the requirements and find a photographer who follows them correctly. Japan made official document photography a vending machine transaction available at any convenience store at any hour, and removed every step between needing a passport photo and having one. Number 9. Disposable underwear. Japan sells individually packaged disposable underwear in convenience stores, pharmacies, and vending machines as a standard everyday product, providing a hygienic single-use option for travelers who need to extend a trip unexpectedly, for emergencies, for post-gym situations, or for anyone who needs a clean pair without access to laundry. The underwear is made from a soft, non-woven fabric that feels comparable to standard cotton for a single wear, comes in multiple sizes, and is packaged in a sealed unit small enough to fit in a jacket pocket. Most countries treat disposable underwear as a specialist medical or travel product available only in specific shops. Japan stocks it at the convenience store register, alongside chewing gum and phone chargers because the need for it is routine rather than exceptional. Japan recognized that running out of clean underwear is a universal human experience that happens to everyone at some point, and put the solution somewhere everyone already goes. Number 10. Milk carton notch for 100% milk. Every carton of pure milk sold in Japan has a small notch or indentation cut into the top edge of the packaging that allows visually impaired consumers to identify it as pure milk by touch alone, distinguishing it from flavored milk, juice, and other carton products without needing to read the label. The notch is a manufacturing standard applied to every pure milk carton regardless of brand. You feel for the notch, find it, and know the contents are milk before you open it. Products without the notch contain something other than pure milk. It's a tactile labeling system that costs nothing to implement at the production stage and provides a consistently reliable identification method for visually impaired shoppers that operates independently of labeling format, font size, or packaging design changes. Japan added a notch to a milk carton and made one of the most common daily food products independently identifiable by touch. One small manufacturing decision, applied universally, solves a problem permanently. Number 11. Apple Store with no security cords. Japan's Apple stores display every device on the floor without security cords, magnetic locks, or tethered cables attaching any product to the table, allowing customers to pick up, hold, use, and experience every item exactly as they would at home, without the physical reminder that you are handling something that the store doesn't entirely trust you with. The absence of security hardware changes the experience of the store immediately. You pick up a MacBook and open it the way you would if you owned it. You hold an iPhone without a cord pulling at the bottom of it. The product speaks for itself rather than being presented through the visual filter of its own theft prevention. Japan's low theft culture makes the security cord unnecessary, and Apple's Japanese stores made the decision to reflect that, rather than defaulting to the global standard out of caution. The result is a retail environment that treats every customer as trustworthy from the moment they walk in. The products feel better in that environment than they do anywhere else. Number 12. Two-way slippers. Japanese two-way slippers are designed to be worn in either direction, with a symmetrical sole and upper that functions correctly whether your foot is inserted from the front or the back, eliminating the moment of orientation that standard slippers require every time you put them on. You step into them in whatever direction they happen to be facing. They fit. You don't rotate them, don't check which end is which, and don't do the small shuffle that a directional slipper requires when you've stepped into it the wrong way and have to start again. The design is particularly practical for hotel rooms, ryokan, and anywhere slippers are provided for multiple people and end up facing various directions after being kicked off. You approach them, step in, and move on. Japan identified a minor friction point in the most routine possible action and eliminated it with a symmetrical design. The slipper works both ways because there's no functional reason it shouldn't and every practical reason it should. Number 13. Clip-on reading lights. Japanese clip-on reading lights attach to the cover or spine of any book and direct a focused beam of light onto the pages, allowing reading in low light without illuminating the surrounding area or disturbing anyone nearby. The light clips on in seconds, runs on a small battery, and angles precisely enough to cover both pages without spilling light beyond the book's surface. When you're done, you fold it closed, unclip it, and it goes in a bag or a bedside drawer until next time. Reading in bed without disturbing a sleeping partner, reading on a night flight without the overhead light affecting the person beside you, reading in a dimly lit space that has atmosphere worth preserving. The clip-on light solves all three situations with the same product. Japan made a reading light that attaches to the thing you're reading, rather than to a surface near it, and produce something small enough to carry everywhere and useful enough that once you have one, you wonder how you manage the low-light situations without it. Number 14. Egg yolk separators. Japanese egg yolk separators are small kitchen tools that extract the yolk from a cracked egg cleanly and transfer it without breaking it. Designed in forms that range from simple suction bulbs to ceramic dishes with precision-shaped channels that guide the white away from the yolk automatically. The suction bulb version works by cracking the egg into a dish, placing the bulb over the yolk, squeezing, and releasing. The suction lifts the yolk cleanly and holds it until you release it into a separate container. The white stays in the dish. Separating eggs by passing the yolk between shell halves works but breaks yolks inconsistently, mixes traces of white into the yolk, and requires a shell intact enough to function as a vessel. The separator removes every variable from the process. Japan produced multiple versions of a dedicated egg separation tool and made them available as standard kitchen products, because separating eggs cleanly is something enough people do, often enough to deserve a tool that does it properly. Number 15. Neco Fufu Cooling Robot. The Neco Fufu robot is a small desktop device that detects when food or a hot drink placed in front of it is above a comfortable eating temperature and automatically blows a gentle stream of cool air onto it, cooling it down to an appropriate temperature without any input from the person eating. The name translates roughly as cat tongue puff puff, a reference to the Japanese term nekojita, which describes someone sensitive to hot food. The robot sits on the table, its sensors read the temperature of the food in front of it, and when it detects heat above the threshold, it activates and begins cooling. You place your ramen, your soup, or your coffee in front of it and turn your attention elsewhere. By the time you're ready to eat, the temperature has been managed without you testing it repeatedly, blowing on it yourself, or burning your mouth on the first bite. Japan built a robot to solve the universal problem of food being too hot to eat and made it small enough to sit next to your bowl. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more problem-solving things.